by. But luckily they saved it.
And now it's a really, really nice place.
But if it wasn't for some of the local people that really dug in and did the job, they'd have leveled it. Like they level everything else. Because when it's obsolete, they don't have a use for it anymore. And it costs them money to keep it, so they just level it. If they can. Some of them were built pretty solid.
What were some of the things that ended up being leveled around town?
Around here, a lot of the tracks were tore out. There used to be a line that came in from, well, actually it was the Ann Arbor line. It come in outside of town and come parallel to here and crossed over and went that side of the depot and around and went to Owasso and on. That's gone. They've saved a few, like the tower there that was the crossing protection, because it wasn't automatic then. There was a man sitting there pushing a button to put the gates down. They preserved that. It's over there, that little tower next to the steam engine. But the grocery house is a big brick building there right on the corner of Oak and Brand Street. That was headquarters when they moved out of the depot, and down there, it used to be a big warehouse back at the turn of the century. So it was a dilapidated building, but when that was no longer useful, they took it down. The roundhouse, that they would have taken that down, but it's too solid. It's solid cement. The coal dock, that's still there. It's just too big and too solid to knock down, so they just abandoned them. But all kinds of little sheds and buildings, and like I say, everything that wasn't really solidly built was gone. Most of the tracks are the same, but it just doesn't. There's maybe one job that works out of here, and there used to be 30 jobs out of here. 15 trains and yard jobs that arranged the cars to where they were going to go, and that was the yard work. Once they got
did
through
that.
Yeah, or different times. You might be a yard engineer one day and a road engineer your next trip. You didn't know where you were going, so
it's very sporadic, kind of.
It was constant, but you didn't know what job you were going to have because you were on the spare board, and when they called you for something, away you went. We had outstations in Muskegon. They even had one in Milwaukee, Wisconsin for years. When I first came, that was about the end of it right there, so I never had to go to Muskegon or to Milwaukee. But there used to be guys that would ride the train or whatever, drive to Muskegon, take the ferry across to Milwaukee, or even drive around Chicago and back up to go to work sometimes on a yard job.
So like
that was crazy.
50 miles to get here to work.
How many?
So driving a long
Milwaukee
distance just to get to work. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
That Muskegon job is 130 miles away. So.
Wow.
So you had to start early.
Yeah.
You had your 2-hour call and then 2 hours worth of driving time, so. It was about 2.5, 3-hour drive back then to go to work. To work 8 hours and come home. I went up there one time and was stranded by snow. I spent 3 days up there because nobody could get in or out, so I just stayed right there. One of the boats were froze into the lake, so we had to wait for them to get thawed out, or busted out. And then we took the engine down to the dock and pulled the cars off the ferry. That was one of the last times I went to Muskegon, because they get a tremendous amount of snow there. We'd run the snow plow up there and plow your way up, because trains can go through a lot of snow, but there is a limit. And they'd push the snow plow down and clear the track enough to get a train through.
So basically, on a day of work, would there be anything that you usually expect to happen, like any event that occurs often on a daily basis that you need to watch out for, or
It's all unexpected.
all unexpected? Expect anything could happen.
Yep.
At any moment.
Well, trains, you're crossing across the country, so every crossing you get to is potentially hitting a car, and
Yeah.
the trains themselves, I mean, there's derailments, and there's many derailments. Before I hired out, everything was with train orders, which was just paperwork, and they'd get a train order to leave here to go to Pontiac, which is the next hub to the south,
Yeah.
and there's sidings in between here. There was 4 or 5 sidings, so they might send a train from there. It's one single track, so you'd have to meet somewhere. So your train order would tell you that you could go to a certain point. Well, this other train's coming, he's going to that same point. Well, one of them would be instructed to take the siding, and the other one would wait, and when you met, then you went on. But that's all electronic now, and radios, and so you don't have that type. They know where everybody's at way better than they ever did then. There was one head on back in 50s, I think. 2 steam engines came together in Fenton around the curve, and several of them were killed. And I worked with one guy that survived. He was scarred for life from scalded water, but he was able to come back to work and finish his career. And even today, it still happens today. Even with the electronics, there's still people involved. There can be pilot error. That was the last one that was bad. It was in Andersonville, which is just short of Pontiac, where a train went right around this Y here. And he took the siding in Andersonville, and the other train was coming out of Pontiac. And when he come to the other end of the siding, he was sleeping. He had dozed off, and he didn't stop. He went back out onto the track, and the guy coming around the curve, I think it was 35 mile an hour, 40 mile an hour, couldn't see him till the last second, so they had no time to jump, and they were both killed. This a good friend of mine. He was a year older than me, and went to school with him. Married a cousin. Right down in the corner there, that marble monument was to those 2 guys. Worked with them for a long time, knew them extremely well. So it can still happen today. It's a dangerous job. When I said my grandfather came here in the 20s, he lost his arm at the elbow. He stepped off the caboose here right in front of the depot when the train come around the Y to back into the yard, and he stepped off into a baggage car, which knocked him back into the train, and he lost his arm at the elbow. My grandfather had his wrist pinched off, but the local doctor in 1932, I think it was, sewed it back on, and a year later he went back to work, and he finished his career. But it's much safer now because they stress safety so much. But things happen. They still happen today.
Have you ever seen any accidents occur? Well,
Oh yeah. Been in a few.
Wow.
But never, as far as cars tipping over and stuff like that. I mean, you see some of that, of course. But I never hurt anybody, and I was pretty proud of that. So.
Yeah.
Nobody on my cruise was ever hurt. But it's a dangerous job. Something that big and moving, and things happen. radios fail. They rely so much on radios now that if they fail, anything can happen.
Has there, we mentioned brotherhood earlier, while you were working with other people that you made friends with on the job. Any memorable experiences that you had with friends while working? Any positive?
Lots of things happen.
Yeah. Not all of them good.
Not all of them good, no. Most were. Oh, just little things. I hit a cow one time the other side of Grand Rapids. A little bit of snow on the ground. Knocked him down, pushed him a half a mile. When I stopped, it was a heavy train. When I finally got stopped, he got up, shook himself off, and walked away. And I went.
Also, like, you didn't run him over, you just...
I shoved him.
Wow.
He was down.
Wow.
He was down on his side, skidding. He must have been pretty sore, but he got up and ran away. So that was an experience. Well, then I had a couple that weren't quite so successful.
Yeah.
Because if you hit something, you're going to win.
Okay.
Unless it derails the train. And that's happened too. Not to me, but a car can get up underneath and derail the train. That happened the other side of St. John's one time. The train ran outside
When did
from
that
hitting a
happen?
car. Oh man, I don't know. Probably the mid-70s. There's just so many accidents that some of them real bad and everything down to just fender benders, but the head-on spec before my time were the worst by far, of course, but I'm sure that you heard of the circus train wreck at the turn of the century right down here at this, right at Simplicity, right at that corner, right where that crossing where he just came across. Same thing, the train was stopped here for the diamond, and one ran into the back of it.
Yeah, I actually heard that some elephants that died in the accident are buried.
There's a lot of things buried down there. Because before they had the electronics here at this diamond, there was just a pipe gate. There was a shanty there, and a man. This was the brain center, so they relayed it to him to turn that gate to allow the train to go through. But it was just a piece of pipe. It wasn't going to stop, but they had to stop for it. So that's what happened there. They stopped. The train ran into the back of it. Like my great-grandfather that lost his arm, that's where he worked. He's still able to work, but he just turned those gates when they let a train through. Turn them this way and a guy goes through, or they turn it that way, allow the guy to go this way. So that was how they controlled paperwork and those gates. Now it's signals. Same idea, just signals, lights. So they had people do that before. Every crossing around town had a guy in Shanty that walked out and stuck a sign in the middle of the road if it didn't have gates. The only gates were right there in Maine and Oak. There weren't any gates anywhere else. So it was pretty hazardous for motorists too. They had to watch. And they did. A lot of them. Every crossing in this whole business had deaths at everyone. I don't think there's a crossing anywhere that somebody wasn't killed somewhere in the last 100 years.
Have you that from happening?
I'm sure a lot of them.
Like that was a close call, kind of deal.
Oh yeah. Mainly just cars.
Yeah.
When I first was a fireman, I just about hit a guy in Fenton, an old timer that come up to the crossing, never looked, and putted across. And I had to sit up in my seat and look down like that, and I missed him by.
Oh, wow.
He didn't even know it, because he was an old guy. He was driving like this.
Went both ways.
Didn't even know it. Oh yeah, there's countless times that close calls. But the thing about a train, you can put it in emergency, which sets all the brakes as fast as they can go on, but you're still, depending
Gonna just keep on going.
on how heavy the train is, how far you're gonna go. But you're gonna go at least a half a mile before you come to a stop if you're going up to speed. So it's nothing you can do. Your horn is your only weapon. And if they ain't listening or watching, it doesn't do you a bit of good. So, it's just something you have to live with. And realize it isn't your fault, and you didn't, nothing you could do, and try to put it behind you. And hope it wasn't somebody you knew.
Yeah. Out of everything we've covered today, is there anything that you would like to comment on or add?
Oh. I guess, what I already said pretty much, how dangerous a job it is, and how many hours you had to work to fulfill your obligation, expect you to work. They didn't want you to take a day off. The management has changed so much, it's horrible now. Back then it was a family, you knew everybody, your local people were your boss, and now they bring them in from wherever, and it's drastically changed.
Do you think the city of Durand today is getting better, progressing further, or?
Oh yeah. Yeah, by preserving the depot and having the railroad festival, that's big stuff. Now they're trying to produce this other memorial, that's a big thing. It's a unique town. It's a crossroads. There used to be a lot of trains, and there's still one main train line through here. So that'll always be here. The sidelines, who knows? The line from Detroit goes right around there. They don't have the trains they used to have there, but there's still a few, so. But the east-west, it's constant.
Yeah.
It actually starts in Nova Scotia and goes wherever it wants to go. Chicago, south, west, Mexico, you can go anywhere from here.
Thank you for taking the time to be a part of this project. The information that you have provided will be preserved so that others who come after us will be able to access this information and learn a little about life on the railroads.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that's basically all I
had to keep all the bad stories out.
That's good, because I haven't talked about bad stories with any other interview so far, so it's good that we talked about that. Thank you very much.
A lot of things happen. Most of them, a lot of them you can't repeat, a lot of them you can.